Alright guys, so I'll just put this up here a little bit. There we go. So Saturday night was the big party, right? Supposed to go outside and hang out and see what happens outside, right? See what kind of animals show up, whatnot. Well, I debated as to whether even to go out or not because of the weather. But I said, well, I'm going to go out Saturday. So I went ahead and went out Saturday. Just because I told you guys, well, I'll go out Saturday. Nothing happened. I didn't think anything had happened though, because Saturday the wind was howling pretty good. And it was cold. So it was like 11 degrees Fahrenheit Saturday. Generally, what happens is when it's windy and cold, a lot of animals like to hole up. Just like you might like to hole up. Just kind of get out of the weather, hang out, do whatever animals do, during that time period. So I didn't really expect much, if anything. But I said, well, I'll go out. So I did. So I went out. I got the polk out. And I put some stuff in there, took it out. And now we're almost out of snow. I don't know if there'll be any more polking at all the rest of this, what's left of this winter. So I think that's going to be it. But anyway, not today, but tomorrow I'll do a video showing you my polk setup, right? I may have showed it to you in the past, but I'll show you outside in the daylight. Of course, right now out there it's grass, but there's still snow off in the back. But you got to drag the polk out there, right? And I don't really want to drag it across a lot of rock and gravel to get out to the snow. Although the jet sleds are pretty darn tough. It takes a long while for them to wear through, even when they're very abused. That's one thing I like about them, is they're tough, and they're relatively inexpensive for what they are. They're not super expensive. Some of the stuff you buy a toboggan, one of these HDWMs or whatever you call that, high density molecular weights or whatever. Stuff that rolls up on its own and it's practically indestructible. You roll it out, put all your crap on there, and go to town. That's good if you can afford it and that's what you want. Or, there's high-end polks out there that you can buy from Norway and such. You can get those. But, these are kind of like your average guy polk, And, of course, they call them sleds. They call them sleds in the United States. They call them sleds. Sledges. A sledge with a D in there. Sledge. That's the old school written form and way to pronounce it. But now they just call them sled. S-L-E-D. No G-E on the end. So it's sledge with a G-E on the end is the old school spelling and pronunciation, and then the newer is just sled. So they cut off the G-E. And then of course over there in the Nordic countries, it's polk. Which is kind of fun because I like pulled pork sandwiches, so I like to say pulled polk. Anyway, so you could get as elaborate as you want on your polk. You know, this isn't about polks, right? It's kind of about polks, but not about polks. It's about Saturday night. So I got all dressed. For success. You know, appropriate layering. So I had on my long underwear bottoms, and then I had on my old Woolrich, my vintage wool trousers. Keep my legs nice and toasty. And then I had on the top, I had a double layer long underwear top. I had a Brindy mesh top, and then on top of that I had your regular old micro what the heck they call micro knit wool top, which is that was 100% wool on top of the mesh. So those two long underwear tops, and then I had on, did not have this on. This was a bit light for the way I was going. I got out my double heavyweight wool sweater jumper setup, which comes all the way up the neck, right? So on the inside is one heavyweight barber jumper, and then on the outside was the heavyweight German sweater jumper that come all the way up to the neck. And so that double, that was really good, really warm, kept me really warm. So, and then on top of all that, I put a camouflage jumpsuit, okay, just for camo. And of course that does repel a little bit of wind, but you know, the whole idea is just to camo, right? So I put that on. Then on my head I had a knit hat, right? Wool hat. And then I had my camel or coyote brown colored pashmina scarf, okay, going from the top of my head and around underneath my neck. So I had that on. And then I had a set of just fleece gloves, some fleece gloves, because, you know, it's not like it was like, you know, 20 below or anything. It was just like 11 Fahrenheit. Then I had my trapper, my Baffin trapper boots on. And when you insulate your legs really well, your feet stay warm, you know, because that heat is taken to your feet by your arteries, okay? And it's disseminated down to the feet. And then if you got good insulation between here and the feet, then the heat doesn't get robbed before it gets there, and then your feet, you know, are warm. And then if you got a good insulating boot on, then they're going to stay warm. So my feet were nice and warm the whole time. I was out for, you know, many hours, and I was just fine. Didn't get cold. But of course, before you go out anywhere, you got to heat the core. That means the insides, right? So drink plenty of hot liquids. Eat some high carb food, you know, hot food, high carbs, some kind of pasta or pizza, you know, that will help you to keep that that fire burning inside. So this is your wood stove, right? This is your heater. So, you know, you got to put the proper amount and the proper type of wood in there to keep that long, slow burn, right? So that's what you're doing. So you're heating your stove, and then the layers that you put on are keeping the heat in. You're mitigating heat loss. Right. And low battery already. Probably have to plug her in. Anyway, so yeah, went out there, never saw or heard anything except for the wind moving through the woods and trees creaking, you know, because there are some dead ones out there. Those are the ones you got to watch out for. You know, if you're camping in a wood, you got to always look up, see if there's anything hanging about, any widowmakers, and note where all the dead trees are. Not that live trees can't lose a limb here and there, you know, but you know what I'm saying. If you're not making a shelter that can bear a dropped branch, you know, if you're making a lean-to out of wood, you know, probably all right. But if you just got like a tarp shelter, you know, you got to be particularly attentive to that situation. Yeah, so I didn't see Bigfoot. Didn't see anything. Just heard the wind and heard the trees creaking. And I darn near fell asleep a couple times. It was so peaceful out there. Yeah. I took a few weapons just in case. I'll go over those tomorrow in the video, what I took as far as weapons goes. Nothing much, just something in case I had to deal with a wild animal, you know. So I'm not pretty much just not afraid of much of anything, you know. Bigfoot could be an issue. A werewolf could also be an issue. However, you know, you just gotta do what you gotta do. Ain't no running away from something like that. You're gonna have to stand there and go to toe if you need to. You know, it's just the way it is. So, let me check my time. Got about 2 minutes here, and get low on battery. So probably what I'll do is I'll go ahead and shut this video down, and then I will recharge this because I've been kind of busy today doing stuff. I'll recharge that, and then I'll come back at you here in another video after I get that charged back up. I still got things to do. I've always got things to do. Seems like they never end. Yeah, so unfortunately, no wild animals, no Bigfoot, no werewolves. But the year ain't over. Year ain't over yet. Yeah. So next video we'll talk a little bit about the Trump-Zelensky thing and a little bit about some other stuff. So that'll be a chit-chat video about world events and whatnot. So we'll talk about that a little bit. I don't want to bore you too much with that. I mean, I kind of get tired of all the political stuff myself, but I'm watching because of the biblical stuff, you know, kind of see how things tie in, you know. Tomorrow, like I said, I'll go over the polk, but here in another video I'll talk a little bit more about polks, and I will show you what I've got to drag my polk behind me. Alright, because I got it here. I went ahead and brought it up because I was going to talk about it. I was originally just going to talk about pulps, but then I thought, well, I'll show you some other stuff. See you in a bit.